You are listening to the Sports and Sorts podcast.
Looking up, see ya!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble!
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Yeah, baby. Welcome back to Sports and Sorts. This is episode 132. It's a Monday. Monday is back. It's a Monday. Do you have a case of the Mondays today?
You know what? I had a weird thing happen to me this morning. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts, right? And you know, I'm in line. I'm in the drive-thru. Place my regular order. She's like, "What would you like?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. I need an extra large hot pumpkin, 5 creams, extra pumpkin."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and she's like, "Oh," and she's like, "Would you also like a large iced decaf pumpkin with almond milk?" And I looked at the thing and I'm like, "Yes." How did you know this? And then I get up to the window and she's like, "Oh, honey, you need to change your routine." I'm like, "Hell no, I'm not getting rid of my pumpkin. I'm drinking my pumpkin for as long as you will serve it." But I was like, wow, it's reached the point where it's one thing like if you go into the store and they recognize you and they're like, okay, it's another thing like when they're predicting your orders in the drive-thru window.
They recognize your voice.
That's like next level, yeah.
Maybe she listens to the show.
I don't think so, but no, I don't think so. But I will say I was I don't know if I was happy about it or I'm not sure. It was weird.
You seem very confused.
It was really, I was like,
Wait, where am I?
I was like looking at the speaker box like.
Groundhog's Day? Anyway.
Something.
So I'm one of your hosts. My name is Shane Moore.
I'm the Brian Man.
Yes, you are. And we go live every Monday at 10, Wednesday at 11, Saturday at 10. You can find the audio-only version of this show anywhere podcasts are played, iTunes, iHeartRadio, yada, yada, yada. You can also find us on our website at www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com. Today, we will be talking about the World Series. We got a little NFL Game of the Week, Sunday Night Football recap, Monday Night Football predictions, all that, and I'm sure a little bit more on Sports and Sorts today. We got a great show. Let's go.
You are listening to Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Brian.
Break the tank. Break the tank. Break the tank. Sorry. So here, we usually start off with football, but because the World Series was last night, we are going to start off with the MLB and the World Series. And look, this was a really fun for Sox fans. That was really, really fun for Sox fans. Everything that was hit in the air was caught unless JD Martinez was in the outfield. You had everything was working well for them. They had the lucky bounces. They had, pitching performances from pitchers like David Price, which they have never seen before. They had so many things that went their way that it just felt like they were going to win the World Series. And sure enough, they did. But the Bry Man has 5 takeaways for the World Series / postseason he'd like to present to everyone. And he said he can do it in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to put him on the clock.
I could, but I would like to extend it if you want to try.
I have the ability to extend it. Obviously, we'll see what happens at the 5-minute mark. If you are not entertained, then we will move on.
I didn't say that these were necessarily going to be entertaining. They're just my takeaways. I mean, they're probably...
Yeah, you want to get cathartic here. Yeah, all right, go ahead. You ready?
All right.
You ready?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to
right.
hit the timer. You go, and you give us these 5 takeaways from this postseason.
Okay.
All right, go.
Okay. Number 5. This one's not very groundbreaking, and it's unfortunately it's very obvious. But the Red Sox with 4 World Series in this century are now officially the team of the century in this, what is a short century so far, followed by the San Francisco Giants, who have 3 championships this century. But look, and I mean, I'm sure this is chapping Yankee fans, or not even necessarily Yankee fans. I would say pretty much anyone who's not a Red Sox fan. But it's a tough pill to swallow this morning. The Red Sox are the current team of the century through 2018. There's just no 2 ways around it.
I actually saw a post by someone today that said that, it was Chris Carter. I saw like a quick little clip of him this morning when I was at the bus stop with my daughter, and he said that he feels that Boston is the best sports town in this century, because between New England.
Oh, that's hard. I mean, that's hard to argue.
Yeah. But for obvious reasons, there was, I think Nick Wright was a little upset by that whole thing. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the good thing for me, I mean, I don't know, you too, I guess, because, I mean, honestly, the Yankees, I don't get like caught up in the whole New York-Boston thing. I mean, I hate all things Boston when it comes to sports, but I don't care about New York. For me, New York is just the Yankees. I have no other New York allegiances at all. Zero. Right. So, honestly, like, I don't get caught up in that whole Boston is better than New York is better than Boston thing. To me, that's a baseball only thing for me. All my other sports teams are scattered, as I think some of yours are too. So, but hey, listen, I mean, tip of the cap to them, right? I mean, 4 championships, in this century, in this short century, that's impressive. They're averaging, 1 every 4 years basically. So, you gotta tip your cap. They had an amazing season this year. Number 4, Dave Roberts should never be allowed to manage in a World Series again. If they ever get back here, if the Dodgers ever manage to get back to another World Series and he is at the helm, he needs to step aside and let the bench coach take over. I don't even know who the bench coach is on the Dodgers. I don't care who they let. Let Cody Bellinger take over. Let Max Muncy take over.
Bellinger? It doesn't. Anybody? Bueller?
Anybody. I mean, literally anybody but Dave Roberts. And what amazes me the most about Dave Roberts is that the guy has played in a World Series and won a World Series as a Boston Red Sox. Irony. He has been to he has been to and managed in 3 straight league championship series and been to and managed in 2 straight World Series, and he looks like a deer in headlights. He looks like a guy who has no clue how to manage in a high-pressure situation. Now, I can't say he's been a horrible hire. Again, 3 straight LCSs, 2 straight World Series, but he looks lost in the World Series. I don't even know where to begin with the bad decisions, which is why I'm not factoring it. If you watch the World Series, you know where I'm coming from here. We don't have time to explain all of it, but this guy, I'll tell you what, I mean, the Dodgers – I'm not saying he's on the hot seat. It's going to be it'd be hard to fire him. Although, hey, listen, guys have been. I mean, Joe Girardi won Manager of the Year. He got fired the next year. So, I mean, look, I'm not saying he can't be gone, but man, if you're the Dodgers, you got to take a look at this because he got. I don't even want to say he got outfoxed by Alex Cora. He just managed horribly. Alex Cora did. He did definitely. Alex Cora pushed a lot of the right buttons in this World Series. He did good things. He did not look like a manager who hadn't been there before. Now, granted, he was also a bench coach with the Astros the year before. So, I mean, Alex Cora had some World Series exposure too. But listen, it's different. The pressure is so different as being the skipper of a team versus being a bench coach. No fault or blame falls to you as a bench coach. So. When you're a manager, then the focus is on you. And Dave Roberts, man, in this national spotlight in the last couple of years has not done well. But this particular World Series was a real disaster for him. Really, it really was. I honestly don't know how else to say it. Number 3, in the kind of I don't know if this is irony. I mean, neither one of these guys has had great postseason showings. But it's hard to believe that after all is said and done, I mean, I guess for me, that David Price, not Clayton Kershaw, was the starting pitcher who got the postseason monkey off his back this year. I thought that was a little surprising. I mean, I guess if you had told me at the beginning of this series one of these 2 things was going to happen, I probably would have said it would be this way, only because I just didn't think the Dodgers had any chance to win this World Series. I picked them in 5. I picked the Red Sox in 5. So I would have said that this probably would have turned out. But let's be honest, Clayton Kershaw is one of the best pitchers of our generation. Mm-hmm. And, David Price is the guy walking away with having an unbelievable World Series, and there was a definite argument that he should have been World Series MVP. And he's the guy walking away with the ring. Clayton Kershaw, there's just going to be a lot of things for him to answer in this offseason. But the only way he's going to be able to answer any of it is on the mound. He's got to get this team back here, and then he's got to win. And honestly, I don't know, man. I think the window for the Dodgers is starting to close. Not to mention the fact that they're going to lose Manny Machado, who, despite whatever you want to say about him, certainly is a productive player. He's not going to be I don't think he's going to be a Dodger next year. And they're going to have some gaps to fill. Their starting pitching is definitely solid. I mean, if Kershaw stays, doesn't opt out, and he stays, you got him, you got Walker Buehler. I mean, I don't know how much more you can keep expecting out of Rich Hill. But their starting pitching foundation is at least good. But man, between Dave Roberts and Kershaw in the postseason, they've got some stuff to fix. Number 2, speaking of Manny Machado, his antics. And by the way, I'm gonna make this prediction, and I'm not the only one saying this. I actually read this morning. But his antics and lack of production in this World Series, I think, are going to cost him $100 million. I think he's going to be about a $250 million player. I think his contract expectations need to go down. First of all, he was bad in this. He was not good in this World Series. He was dirty. He was really not clutch. I know when Game 1 when they lost,
he had quite a few RBIs.
He did. I know in that Game 1 he had like 3 RBIs, and everybody after Game 1, even though the Dodgers lost the game, was like, "Ooh, look at Manny Machado." But if you actually looked at that game. Yeah, he had like a sacrifice fly, and he might have had but he had chances. He had big opportunities in that Game 1 to drive in a lot more than 3 runs, and the best he actually mustered, I think, was like a sac fly. So that 3 RBI game was actually a little bit misleading, and he just and now what Manny Machado is going to be famous for, in addition to striking out against Chris Sale to get the final out of the World Series, which is fitting for him. I think Manny Machado deserved that. But the other thing is going to be him stepping on guys' heels at first base. That's his 2018 World Series legacy, Manny Machado, right there. And I'll tell you what. But the worst part is, before that, during this postseason, he basically said, "I'm not Johnny Hustle. I'm not going to leg it out going down the first baseline. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be."
He ended up legging it down. I mean, he did hustle most of the time. I mean, that's what you say and what he does is 2 different things, really. I mean, he does lollygag down every once in a while, but for the most part, he does hustle.
You still can't go out and say that, though. And you really can't do it during the postseason when you're actually playing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, and I said it a few weeks ago, and I will say this, too. I have never flip-flopped on a guy so quickly and so dramatically as I have about Manny Machado, because a few weeks ago, when I presented my 6-point plan to save the Yankees, he was part of it. Signing him was part of it. Right. And now to me, he is an absolute pariah that I want no part of. I think he has the potential to be a clubhouse killing cancer. I want no part of him. We don't need the Yankees do not need lazy lollygagging players running down first base and stepping on guys' heels every time he gets to first base. We don't need that. The Yankees don't need that. Yankees got enough things to handle this offseason on their own. They don't need Manny Machado. I really don't. I think there are other ways to fill that gap, too, because I think in the meantime you could sign Daniel Murphy, put him at second base, deal with the fact that he's a homophobe, put him over at second base, put Gleyber Torres at short, which is Gleyber Torres' natural position, and let's just leave Manny Machado alone. Let him go somewhere. Let the Phillies sign him for
we're going to lose a lot of games to start the season next year, because Daniel Murphy is one of the worst second basemen in the league, and Gleyber Torres will be one of the worst shortstops in the league because he has no range. He has an average arm, and he's really just not that good of a infielder. He's just an above average infielder. It's going to be a real struggle, especially with having Andujar at third. there could be a crap load of errors at the beginning of the season. You can't have that as your infield. If it is, then you're setting yourself up for like, especially you're going to get yourself in the hole quick.
I don't know that I agree with that. I understand that Glaber had some WTF moments at short, but I also saw a lot of brilliant plays out of him at shortstop this year.
But he has no range.
I don't know that I agree with that either. I thought I saw some range on certain plays. He made a lot of diving plays. He made a lot of good plays. I think, first of all, you're taking
average second baseman range.
You're taking a very small sample of him at shortstop and applying it.
No,
I think we need a little bit more.
I'm doing it by second baseman, and he doesn't have good range for a second baseman.
But you're saying the guy can't play. Shortstop was his natural position.
But middle infield. I could play second and short. I could go in hand in a game like that. That's not that big of a deal. The only thing is footwork around second base.
So what are you saying, that like Gleyber Torres just needs to be gone from this team? Do we just trade him now because apparently he can't play? But you just said he's a bad second baseman.
No, I said he's an average second.
And you
baseman.
just said the two were interchangeable. So which is it?
I said he's an average second baseman. You need to have more range as a shortstop. You have to have a better arm as a shortstop. Those things he does not have, so he will be a below average shortstop.
At his age, this is not something you think that can improve.
No. You can't. He's not going to be able to strengthen his arm much more. He's not going to be able to get more range. He's 20 years old. He's not going to get more range. This is as best as he's going to get. This is as fast as he's ever going to get.
This is the best we're going to get out of him at 20.
Speed. You can't improve speed at this age.
Sure he could. He could lose weight. He could drop 10 pounds and his speed would improve.
But then you're going to lose his back.
Listen, I have a little bit of experience with this because I used to weigh 265 pounds and then I went down to 150, and I can tell you I got a lot faster at 150.
But you weren't playing professional sports.
No, I was running up and down a football field with my brother throwing footballs to me, but I can tell you that I ran down the field a lot faster at 150 versus
he needs to have that muscle to be able to hit the ball.
I think if we are passing judgment on Gleyber Torres as a 20-year-old right now, saying that he can and cannot play certain positions, then I think we just need to throw our hands up in the air. And
He's
say,
not a shortstop. I mean, Didi's an above average shortstop. Didi's an above average shortstop, and Gleyber couldn't push him out.
Gleyber was never going to push him out. They were going to push Didi
out. But that is the whole point, is if he can't push him out, because Didi's just an above average shortstop. He's not a great shortstop. He's an above average shortstop with a good arm. And Gleyber could not push that guy out. So he's not. All right, you're losing stuff by putting him there.
So what is your solution? Is your solution to sign Machado? You want to deal with that? You want to deal with this headache?
To be honest, I don't care if they either or. If they do or they don't. I don't know what type of person is. I know that on a small scale, we saw a lot of negative stuff with Manny Machado. I don't think that they should sign Daniel Murphy because he's, for one, always hurt. And two, he is, on top of that, the worst second baseman in the league.
Okay, but if you're going to make a counterpoint here, you can't just say,
have Neil
this
Walker.
guy, I don't want that guy. Oh, boy.
Playing second. He's a better second baseman than Daniel Murphy, and at least he'll be there every day. But I don't know what the second baseman's availability right now. I don't know. Going into this,
Jed Lowry's the other guy, but Jed Lowry's older too.
He's older and he's always hurt. I mean, there's probably more people than that are available, especially with trades and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of availability out there. I just haven't looked into it, so I will look into it. I will come up with my solution to that. But Daniel Murphy, to me, is a horrible second baseman. So I think you'd be losing a lot defensively because you have a lot of errors at third. You'd have not much range at short. You'd have terrible range and a poor defender at second. And then you'd have whoever you put at first, who's also like Luke Voigt or whatever. I don't know where you're going to put it first right now. You'd have him at first, who's not a good first baseman. So your infield would be terrible. And that's problems. That's big problems, especially in the season when you're playing every single day. That stuff's going to rear its head and you're going to get yourself behind the eight ball quick against this Red Sox team, which is proven to have stellar, especially outfield. I mean, their outfield is amazing. They catch everything. And then you have an infield besides their third base situation, which is very solid. So it's nerve-wracking. It is to go into the season like that. Like a defense that's how you win. That's the one thing that should be consistent. And with having Glaber and Daniel and Miguel and Luke, or Greg Bird, who's an above average first baseman, he can pick the ball. That scares me.
I don't know. He had some issues too. Well, if they just make a trade for Paul Goldschmidt like I want, we won't have to worry about first base.
Yeah, if they do that, they get a trade for Madison Bumgarner. This is a whole different conversation.
And they're gonna. These are things that they're gonna have to do. But that's, anyways. Let's finish up. My final takeaway from this postseason is only the New York Mets could steal a headline during the World Series for all the wrong reasons. They picked an agent, a sports agent, to be their general manager. Now, look, when you hear that on the surface, you think your first reaction is like, what? What are they doing? What are the Mets doing? And that is the right reaction. Because, first of all, there is a conflict of interest here. Because I think at one point this guy was the agent actually for like DeGrom and Noah Syndergaard. But listen, I want to read you a little something that I saw on MLBTradeRumors.com, which is an unbelievable website. And this was actually opined by Buster Olney. So it said, New York made a mistake selecting, the guy's name is Brody Van Wagenen. I think I'm probably butchering that. Brody Van Wagenen or Wagenen, who's no more qualified to be the team's GM than to serve as its first baseman, Buster Olney opines. Because of Van Wagenen's tenure as an agent, there are conflict of interest concerns from Major League Baseball, the Major League Baseball Players Association, and club management, all of which regard the hiring as, quote-unquote, bizarre and inevitably problematic. For instance, considering Van Wagenen has acted as the agent for the Mets' two aces, Jacob DeGrom and Noah Syndergaard, only wonders if he'll be able to represent the team's interests instead of his ex-clients. Further, only cites one club exec who's wary of Van Wagenen because of the strong comments he made during last winter's free agent freeze when he suggested teams were colluding against the players. Beyond that, one talent evaluator tells Only the Mets made a quote-unquote very strange choice, in part because Van Wagenen won't get the necessary time to adjust to being a GM, and that banking on this move to work is like, quote-unquote, expecting the impossible. The Mets should have made a safer selection and gone with one of the many qualified front office execs in the majors, pointing out that Van Wagenen has to learn on the job while dealing with the Mets' much maligned ownership. You know what? In the circus of Northeast baseball, where you've got this rivalry between the Yankees and the Red Sox, it's always comforting to know that little baby brother Mets are always there to just they can take the attention away from anything, and it's always for the worst reasons. I mean, look, here's what I will say. Look, the Mets have tried everything else, right? I mean, why not throw this up against the wall and see if it sticks? I mean, they've tried everything else. That team is a total disaster. If you're a Yankee fan and you're waking up kind of feeling a little down today, the Red Sox have won their 4th championship, and now, if you're a Yankee fan of my age in his early 40s, now the count is 5-4. The Yankees have 5, the Red Sox have 4. They're catching up, and there's no end in sight. The Red Sox look like they're going to be around. They're going to be very good for a very long time. The good news is just go to Queens. Just turn your eye to Queens and Flushing and realize that the Mets are always going to be there to make you feel better about yourself. Okay. That's all. Those are my 5 takeaways.
All right. Well, I quickly looked up the second baseman availability this year. Ian Kinsler, DJ LeMahieu, Brian Dozier.
I don't mind LeMahieu.
Dozier is also available. And
I do like I've always been a Dozier fan. I don't know how old he is though.
Sean Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Those are all guys that are available. Jed Lowry, obviously, as Jubal Cabrera. I don't want him. Daniel Descalso, he's also available. There are a lot of availability, especially because you're going to want somebody if you get DJ LeMahieu, that's a guy. If you get you're going to want to keep him there. So you would have to expect that Didi's going to be gone for the year, which he's not. So DJ LeMahieu, as much as I would like him because he's a hitting machine,
yeah,
I can't see him being a fit in the Yankees lineup, which is unfortunate because I think he's just a hitting machine, which I like. Now, as far as other guys, the guy that I think that probably the best fit would be Brian Dozier because he can play multiple positions. He can play second. He can go the outfield if you need him to.
I am a Dozier fan. He can lead off. I
had a really rough year last year. Last year was a bad year for him. But this is a guy who was hitting 35 to 42 home runs per year, for a while before last year. So could he regain that? I mean, he's only 31. He's going to be 32 next year. That's not the end of somebody's career. That's supposed to be the end of their peak. So. Right. And all these guys like LeMahieu, Descalso, Dozier, even Walker, he's 33. He'll be 33. Forsythe is available. I don't know about Sean Rodriguez is 34. All these guys are around that time. So like, even if you do Jed Lowry, if he has that, he can actually stay healthy. 35 years old. He was the best of the bunch here, but he's always been a good hitter. It's just he can never stay healthy. So if he can stay healthy, that'd be something. So I don't know. There's a lot of options. So I would be happy with pretty much any of those over Daniel Murphy. I just don't see him as a good fit at second base. He is a good hitter when he stays healthy. But sure. All right, so the thing that the thing that I've talked about, I've mentioned this in the past, is that Red Sox fans right now are rejoicing. Obviously, you have Timmy over here who's saying, "Hey guys, how about them Red Sox?" And he also had mentioned that you had lost 100 pounds in a weekend, drinking beer. We have to go get that photo. The one thing that I would like to say is that, all right, I'll get to that. I'll get to Brandon's comment when we get to NFL, because I had asked him about how his feeling about the Packers' tough late loss was. But Red Sox fans are rejoicing, and Boston is being labeled as one of, if not the best sports cities in the century. And look, if one thing has proven itself certain, history repeats itself. And if you look at the Red Sox championships in the early 1900s, it's a lot. They had a lot of championships. I'll even put it on the screen here. Look at that. You go 1903, 1912, 1915, 1916, 1918. That's a lot of championships in a short period of time. A lot. So, I mean, it's actually one more than they've had at the beginning of this century. And I'll blame that basically on the pool of the teams in the league being a lot smaller. There was only about 16 teams in the early 1900s. Now there's 30. So, there was half the teams. So that gave them an extra championship in the 1900s. But what happened after 1918, the drought happened. And the Yankees in the 1920s I'm not going to say that the Yankees are going to win at least 3 championships every decade for the next several decades, but history does repeat itself, and the Yankees' dominance is coming. It may not be next year, but it also might be next year. So get ready. Get ready, not just the Sox fans, but get ready MLB, because it's coming. They have set themselves up perfectly for success. Brian Cashman has set himself up for this free agency pool, which is a great free agency pool. He has set himself up for for being able to make trades. He has set himself up with a core group of guys, and Judge, and Bird, I'm not going to even count him anymore, but Sanchez and Andujar and Glaber and all of these guys, he's set himself up for success. He has set it up. He's got Clint Frazier in the minors.
This was his plan.
Chance Adams. He's got he's got all this stuff going in the right direction. So it is coming.
This was his plan from starting a few years ago. Here's the question: as a Yankee fan now, do you trust him to execute it? I'm not sure I do.
I can't see why not.
I'm not sure. Well, because you know what? Just because you set yourself up doesn't mean that others are going to play nice in the sandbox for you. I mean, does that mean that
I don't think they have to?
Are the Giants going to necessarily trade us Madison Bumgarner just because we think that that's a guy that we need?
No, but that's all.
Or the Nationals going to unload Max Scherzer, or the Diamondbacks going to trade us Paul Goldschmidt?
See, this is my big thing. My big thing here is that I think people overreact a lot to the Yankees starting rotation. Like Masahiro Tanaka has been very clutch in big spots. Severino has struggled. He is very young. He is tipping pitches. The Red Sox were caught it and were teeing off on him. So there are a lot of things. I don't know
that that's fixable, by the way, for him.
Sure it is. You can fix tipping pitches. It happens all the time in baseball. You have to make adjustments. It's a game of adjustments.
What is he, 24, 25 years old now? He needs to.
It's a game of adjustments. That's all it is, and he has to adjust to change.
Well, if he can fix tipping pitches, then I think Gleyber Torres could probably learn to play shortstop.
That if he can't, then Larry Rothschild needs to be fired by.
Well, Larry Rothschild should have been fired anyway.
He should have been. He has to be fired by the All-Star break if he can't fix him tipping pitches, because that is his job, is to help him go in and figure out how he's tipping pitches and how to correct it. And if they might have to go to a different kind of sign. I don't know how they're figuring out his pitch, what he's throwing, his selection, but they have figured it out and they need to correct it. And that's just how it goes. That's how MLB works. I mean, that's how it's been going for years. If you get figured out, you have to figure out how to correct that and be dominant again. And that's what the greats do. And he's so young. I mean, at this point, when Max Scherzer was at this point in his career, people they would be going crazy if he had the record that Severino had when he's 24. He has similar stuff, but he was more wild. And then he eventually corrected that, and that was his big success. He was able to correct his wild and maintain the proper mechanics through his rotation, and through his windup and his setup. He was able to have perfect mechanics, and he was able to correct that, and that's what made him a dominant pitcher late 20s into his early 30s. And that is what you're looking for. You're looking for growth out of a young guy, and hopefully that happens. And if it doesn't, then I think we have some issues. But as of right now, between those guys and then whoever we get and these younger guys that are coming up, you have to trust it a little bit. I mean, granted, Justice Sheffield didn't pitch well when he came up this year, but I don't think anybody really expected him to be dominant. So, and then Chance Adams, I think when he came up and pitched, I think he pitched pretty well. I think he did okay. Especially for someone who was thrown right into the thick of things. But other than that, I'm just looking forward to seeing how all this plays out. I really am. I think that people trash Cashman way too much. I think they jump ship on people way too early. There's no reason to take a 24-year-old and say that he's garbage. I just can't do it. I can't do that.
Well, I don't think anybody's saying he's garbage.
Well, I mean, they're all calling him a fake ace. Like he's not an ace. He can't do it in big spots. He's terrible. I mean, look how long it took David Price to win in the postseason.
Oh, that part is true.
A dozen years.
I mean, he's not an ace. Listen, I actually argued for him being an ace at the beginning of the season. I was on board with that, but that proved not to be the case. I don't know how you could argue that he is. I would actually have to reverse that question on you and say you need to tell me that how he is an ace. Because it depends on what your definition of an ace is. Is he the team ace? Maybe, because you could argue that Tanaka's better.
Well, I've been arguing that Tanaka's better for years.
Is he a Major League Baseball ace? No. You can count on your hand how many of those there are. I mean, at this point, I don't even know who's left as a Major League Baseball ace anymore. Outside of Madison Bumgarner, who's the only guy I would ever really truly trust in any kind of a big game. There's just not that many of them. Max Scherzer is absolutely an ace. Madison Bumgarner is absolutely an ace. Chris Sale is absolutely an ace when he's healthy. Yeah, there's not a lot of these guys. I mean, Kershaw right now, look, he's a regular season ace, which I guess qualifies you. I can't do that. I can't just separate it completely, because either you're dominant or you're not. And he has. Well, he was dominant for the first half of the season.
Well, he had a full year and a half of dominance.
Who, Severino?
Yeah, he was dominant last year, and he was dominant for the first half of this year.
Did I miss last year? Did I not watch baseball last year? I don't remember Luis Severino being dominant last year.
You don't? You don't remember him having a low 3 ERA?
I remember him being good. I don't remember being dominant. I mean, I'll say he was dominant the first half of this year. He was running away with the Cy Young Award. He was running away and hiding with it, and then he got caught.
Well, yeah, he got caught by other aces named Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole pitched really well this season. There are a lot of good pitchers out there.
There is a lot left to be desired with Luis Severino. If you're banking on him, if you are banking on him being the ace and a guy who's going to help deliver a championship, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. I think he can be their number two. I'm sure. I mean, now don't get me wrong. His stuff is ace-like. He has that kind of stuff, but I don't know that we can trust him in that moment to be that guy. I mean, I'll tell you, after this postseason and after years of trashing Masahiro Tanaka, To me, he's the guy you have to trust most in a postseason spot now. Having seen what I've seen, he's the guy I would absolutely trust the most.
So this year, Severino went 19-8 and 3.39 ERA, and he had 191 innings pitched, 220 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. Last year, he had a better year. He went 14-6, but he was 2.98 ERA, and he was the third Cy Young. He was third in Cy Young race last year. And on top of that, he had 230 strikeouts and 193 innings. So to say that he wasn't dominant last year, be third in the Cy Young, and he's probably going to get Cy Young votes this year too. So I can't say that he's not dominant. He
was better than I remember last year, I guess. I don't know why I don't remember him being that good last year. Maybe it was only the 14 wins.
Because everybody just remembers what he did in the postseason this year, and it's unfortunate. I mean, he's young, his arm's tired. He's never gone over 200 innings. Like, it's tough. He's got to get there. He's got to pace himself a little bit in the second half, or he should have. And we both said at one point in time he needs to take 2 weeks off.
Oh, yeah.
All the greats do. They do.
Oh, well, look what the Red Sox did with Sale.
Yeah.
I think what they did with Sale was brilliant.
They did with David Price, too. Didn't David Price take some time off during the season?
And they couched it, however they wanted to couch it, belly button infections or whatever. I mean, however, who cares? I mean, the Patriots pull this crap all the time with, putting people on the injury report. This guy's questionable, and, of course, at game time he's playing. Right. So I don't understand why, but I don't understand even in baseball why can't you just say, look, we're just going to DL him for a couple of weeks because he needs rest, his arm is tired.
Arm fatigue, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's just it's silly, but I do think though that if Severino can fix the pitch tipping thing, then I'd like to see a full season of him not tipping pitches and see how that works out. If he puts up the similar numbers to what he did this year, I would probably have to say, okay, as long as it's more consistent. And like the problem is you had such a high in that first half and such a low in the second half. I mean, it just was a completely different guy. Mm-hmm. You can make any argument you want about him being an ace, but the difference between him in the first half and the second half was absolute night and day.
He had a rough time.
It's not even open for debate. So you got to bring that a little. I mean, the balance has to come a little bit more. You've got to be able to find a happy medium and be more consistent.
But he's 24. That's why I can't just put him in like a box right now, saying, oh no, he's not.
Which is why I guess it's why I would make the same argument about Gleyber Torres, who's 20, and say you can't put him in any kind of boxes yet because I still think there's
certain things that you can improve on and you can't. Body is developing in certain
ways and. I guess we disagree on that.
If he loses muscle, how is he going to hit for power?
Do they need him? Does this team need any more power hitters?
No, but that's part of his game.
We're done with that. Well, what good did all these power hitters do this Yankee team this year?
I'm not saying that's the right way, but that's his game. So, you're taking him away from what he does.
The one thing that this Yankee team absolutely needs to concentrate on in this offseason is getting contact hitters, guys who can get on base, guys who can work pitchers. I'm not talking about necessarily Moneyball guys who walk all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't need 12 Scott Hattebergs on the team. I just want guys who can make contact, get on base, and get a clutch hit now and then. Which is why, look, Daniel Murphy, Marwin Gonzalez, Brantley, these are guys that are available that you can probably get relatively cheap, relative to Manny Machado cheap, and who could probably be very productive for you. There's a lot of work to be done. I still think they need. I mean, look, I know I have a feeling they're going to get Corbin. I think if you had to get if there was one guaranteed signing, that'd be the one I would probably bank on. He's a lefty. He wants to be a Yankee. It's a good fit on a number of levels. I mean, the guy is desperate to wear pinstripes. I like guys like that. To me, I mean, his stuff is good, not great. He probably slots in as a 3 or a 4 for them. Mm-hmm. But I still think they're going to need. I think you got to just throw the kitchen sink at the Giants and offer them whatever you can to get Mad Bum. I think
it'd be a good idea for them to make a couple trades, just because to be honest, I'm kind of with you with Manny Machado. I would rather him not be signed with the Yankees. If he does get signed, I'm gonna give him a second chance. But it's not the guy that I really want on the team. And
I just don't want to deal with that headache for 10 years of him stepping on guys' ankles and then
that's something that you have to see.
Having to defend that garbage all the time.
We're seeing him in a vacuum. we're not seeing him during, a full season. And we would get the chance to see them because we'd be watching every single game. So we'd get to see him on a more regular basis and see how much of a pain in the butt he is. But, that's something that I would be willing to give a second chance to. But he's not the guy based on his antics that I would necessarily want.
Yeah,
but
I think they need less of guys like that. I just don't. To me, guys like that are. I don't know. I feel like it's a bad fit. I feel like in this clubhouse where it looks like Aaron Judge is starting to become sort of the personality of the clubhouse, which is a very good thing. Mm-hmm. I just don't know that you need a guy like this upsetting the apple cart.
Okay. All right. Now let's just get quickly. We're going to go over this real quick because we only have about 15 minutes left. To head on to the actual World Series, where we had a couple of topics that Dave, like you mentioned before, Dave Roberts' head-scratching moves. I know that some of his moves were basically driven by the analytics team. From what I understand is that the analytics team basically said, these are the lineup that you have to put in, and that's the lineup he had to put in. Now, I would have to say there's a couple of things here that are absolutely ridiculous. For one, to have it all right-handed lineup is absolutely absurd. I mean, I understand that it's something that you do, but you have to put your best players in your biggest games. You have to win with your best play. You can't outthink the system
just
all
so
the time.
Stupid.
And then on top of that, the biggest thing that drove me crazy all day yesterday was, and this reared its ugly head all game. Why on earth, when you're supposed to have your best hitter bat in the number 3 hole, your best hitter is supposed to be there, why is Kiki Hernandez in the 3 hole? Why is Manny Machado not there? Why is Matt Kemp not in the lineup? Why is Cody Bellinger not in the lineup? Like, these are things that it drives me crazy. Like, Cody Bellinger is a good outfielder. He should be out there. He can be clutch. He has had clutch moments in the postseason. He needs to be out there. Matt Kemp is one of those veterans that has been there, has seen everything, and he can catch up to a fastball. Why isn't Muncy in the lineup every single game? Like, this stuff drives me bananas. Like, you need to win with your best team. You can't go out there and have Enrique Hernandez in your 3 hole. He should have been batting 7th or 8th. Like, not number 3. That is where Manny Machado should have been. Like, he is your guy. He is your run producer. Or you move Turner to the 3 hole. You put Kiki Hernandez in that 2 hole. Like, you do not put him in the 3. I don't understand it. I know that the Yankees bat Aaron Judge in the 2 hole, which I think is absurd, because what you really want is you want your leadoff hitter who's supposed to be good at getting on base, getting on, and then your second guy can either move him over. This is old school thinking, and then you have him come up, and if your second hitter hits into a double play, he still has the potential to hit a home run because that's the kind of hitter he is, or keep the rally going with a double. Like, that's your guy. That's the guy. That's your best hitter in the lineup. Not your best power hitter, your best hitter. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand where they were coming from. But Clayton Kershaw, as you mentioned, has struggled in the postseason. I'm not going to get into too much of that. I feel bad for the guy. I really was hoping, and it stinks with the injuries that he had going forward. All the injuries that he had this season kind of made him struggle to have his velocity. He says he thinks he can get it back next year. Only time will tell there, and he's going to have to see that he can be healthy for a full season and keep that velocity to really kind of prove it. And I just don't, like you said, I don't know if they have what it takes to be able to go this far next year. They almost missed out on it this year, and this analytics team that they put out had a batting average of 205 with an on-base percentage of 299 in the postseason. Not just the World Series, the postseason. And they got to the World Series. That's what this analytics team put out there.
So what they'll say is, well, you can trash us all we want, but we still got to the World Series. That's what their argument would be. But I would say they were lucky to get there. I don't know, maybe not lucky to get there, but
no, they barely got there. I mean,
maybe fortunate. I mean, look, if they had been if the National League had been any bit as balanced as the American League in terms of power teams, the Dodgers would have been eliminated very early. Mm-hmm. They would not have even come close to a World Series. They wouldn't have come close to an NLCS, much less a World Series. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dave Roberts. I mean, again, I don't care what the analytics team throws out in front of you. Ultimately, it should, as far as I know, it's his call.
Yeah.
And you just can't. I mean, look, I guess the best analogy I can maybe make is, wouldn't this sort of be like, and if you want to, all right, hey, let's keep it in LA, right? Wouldn't this sort of be like if the Rams decided to start a game and instead of having, like their 3 or 4 best players, so you would have Jared Goff would be out of your lineup, Todd Gurley would be out of your lineup, and like Robert Woods would be out of your lineup. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe
Reynolds had a really
best...
good game. We're not going to play Cooper Kupp anymore.
Right. I mean, right. Exactly. I mean, it's maybe not the best analogy, but I think it just sort of highlights the fact that you're in the World Series. Matchups be damned. You have to go with the guys that got you there. Why all of a sudden in the World Series are you? You can't.
He did use analytics a lot during the season, and that's why Max Muncy didn't really have all the at-bats that he probably should have had, but he still had 31 home runs or whatever it was. He had a great season.
I'm not saying necessarily that if Dave Roberts starts all these guys and, that they win or that they even win another game. Who knows? We'll never know. But the one thing you do know objectively is that he did not put his best foot forward, and he outthought himself. And then, look, the other big thing is the Rich Hill decision. I mean, I feel like he threw Rich Hill under the bus a little bit.
I think they both kind of were like, they're kind of very walking on eggshells about all that. The thing that I was really talking about was like, you have to have great communication. As your manager, that's kind of one of the biggest things that you have. You have to have great communication. Yes, Rich Hill told you to watch him. He should have gone to him and said, what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you in pain? Are you tired? Like, what's going on? Don't just be like, oh, what? And then go out there. And when he hands you the ball, no. You grab the ball, grab his hand, and you look him. Because Alex Cora would have been like, do you want to stay in the game? Can you give me one more batter?
Yeah.
And you know what? Rich Hill probably would have been like, yeah, I can.
Of course he would have.
So
of course he would have.
You have to do that. As a manager, the communication has to be there. And he did not do that. He didn't do a good job of it. No. All right. Let's. I was going to mention David Price postseason success, but we'll just do it real quick. Just give a really short answer. Would you expect this continued success into next season as in the postseason, or did he just run into a Dodger team that just struggled to hit this postseason?
That's a tough question. I mean,
how about this? Are you scared of him in the postseason?
Well, as the Yankee fan, no, because the Yankees are the one team that still had success against him, even in a even in a postseason where he definitely pitched better.
Yep.
The Yankees are actually the one. I mean, that was the one when they got off of the Red Sox was Game 2 in Fenway where he pitched against them. But I think for his own psyche and getting that monkey off his back, I would say next year he still projects to me to be like a 15 to 17 game winner with a mid to high 3 ERA and probably have some marginal postseason success. I don't know that it would be a lot different than this year. I think the one difference is he'll be a little more relaxed and that monkey will be off his back and he'll always be able to say, I got 2018 in my pocket and I'm, I can live with myself.
Yeah,
I think that'll help him.
As a Yankee fan, I'm not worried about him at all. I don't think he's going to have a great postseason success going forward. I think he is who he is. I think he's going to be spotty, and I'm just not worried about him going forward next year. If we meet him in the LDS or the whatever.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be freaking out about that.
All right, so let's move on, and we're going to head on over to football. And we will be talking about. We'll get right into the beginning. We'll go into quick recap. Actually, you know what? I just want to mention this real quick because this is something that we talked about before the show started. We wanted to mention the Giants real quick because it's probably the last time we're going to be talking about this year. Because I am voting. I'm putting a vote between the two of us that we do not talk about them. We don't mention their name, their actual name. That we have to actually talk about a game that they're involved in because they're going to be playing Monday Night Football in a couple of weeks. But do we at least not mention their name going forward until they at least win 3 games?
Or we just to refer. So we'll use the like the movie The Village. They will be referred to as those whom we do not speak of.
Yes, exactly.
From this point on. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because
they are bad.
They are brutal. I mean,
your team is like how do you say that? A heated mess.
Yes, they are. They are a heated mess.
You know what's the worst part for the Giants in all of this is that
Who?
Sorry, those who we do not speak of. See, I already failed. The moratorium has already been lifted. The worst thing for those who we do not speak of is that they're not even a lock to have the number 1 pick.
I know.
You still have the Raiders who are woefully and equally bad. And then you've got the 49ers.
And the Bills are knocking on their door too.
Yeah. I mean, you got at least 3 1-7 teams. And who was the team that you said was knocking on the door?
Bills.
The Bills.
They're 2.
Right.
They have 2 wins.
Right.
And they're not winning tonight.
Right.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
So they're going to keep pace. It's a bad situation for that team in New York that shares a stadium with the Jets.
That was a good one. All right, so let's move on to a brief recap of Sunday Night Football. Saints versus Vikings. Lots of mistakes were made by the Vikings, and Saints not only capitalized, did they actually get themselves into the top teams to play for the Super Bowl this year, Brian Man? Because I know that you said there was 3: the Chiefs, the Rams, and the Patriots.
Yeah,
they are 6-1 now.
I was thinking about this last night and how depressing it is, especially for somebody who hates the Patriots and just does not want them getting back to another Super Bowl, because it's the AFC is so bad. Like 9-7 teams are getting into the playoffs in the AFC as wild cards easily. I mean, right now the Bengals are 5-3. They have a playoff spot. I'm sorry, they're not a playoff team, but they're going to get in the playoffs probably. But they're not a playoff team. But then you look at the NFC, and you got the Rams, you got the Eagles, you got the Vikings, you got the Saints. Who am I missing?
Cowboys could with the addition of Mary Cooper.
But I mean, like right there, though. I mean, right there, you got 4 teams in the AFC. It's the Chiefs and the Patriots, and that's it.
Packers.
And let's be honest. The Packers too in the NFC. That's actually what I was thinking of. So you got at least 5 like really solid teams. And then in the AFC, you've got the Pats and the Chiefs, and the only way the Chiefs are getting to the Super Bowl, the only way is if that AFC Championship game is being played in Arrowhead Stadium, and I am not confident that it's going to be. And even if it is, to me that's a coin flip game. If that game's in New England, the Patriots are winning no matter what. There's no other scenario that happens there. 0 chance. The only chance the Patriots are not in the Super Bowl this year is if the AFC Championship game is played in Arrowhead, and again, it's a coin flip. It seems unfair. It's so unbalanced because the NFC, it's just very well balanced. You've got every team that's going to make the playoffs in the NFC will deserve to be there because they will have run a very difficult gauntlet to get there. Yeah. There won't be any undeserving teams in the NFC at all. But yeah, the Saints are in the conversation now. They have to be. They just won a huge road game in Minnesota against a team with a good defense. And the Saints did it winning with defense. They didn't just run roughshod over the
Drew Brees
over the
for like 150 yards.
He had a nothing game. Kamara had a good game. Yeah. And that was about it. Michael Thomas had a decent game. But I mean, it wasn't Brees had but that's impressive. If you're a Saints fan, that's got to be the most satisfying and gratifying win of the year. You went on the road, you beat a really good opponent with a pretty good defense in their home stadium, a team that you will compete with for playoff positioning, and you won by 10, and you did it with defense as opposed to you did not need your GOAT Hall of Fame quarterback. You just needed your defense to show up. The Saints are in the conversation, without a doubt. They have to be.
And Drew Brees and the Saints, this team is just the real deal. That's what I think right now. I mean, I expected them to go 10-6 this year, and they're exceeding my expectations. And as good teams do, they get better as the season goes on.
That's another thing. See them getting better.
And now they have their hands. They have their hands full over the next couple of weeks. Next week they go against the Rams, and then I think in a couple of weeks they play the Eagles. And I expect the Rams to beat them, but the Saints should get at least one win against either the Eagles or the Rams.
That's the Saints' game of the year. Is that game, that home game against the Rams? I have a feeling I'm going to be picking the Saints in that game.
All right.
Listen, the Rams showed some vulnerability yesterday. By the way, oh my God. Shame on Rams fans. Get to your stadium, for God's sakes. It was a home game for the Packers yesterday. No wonder that game was so close.
It was like in L.A. with all the Red Sox fans in Dodger Town.
I mean, the one thing I can't figure out, like, and I need somebody to explain this to me, like, what is going on in Green Bay that these fans can afford to travel as well as they do?
Economy's good right now, man.
I mean, like, yeah, I even said it to my wife, and she's like, cheese business is booming in Wisconsin, I guess. I'm like, I guess.
Well,
do they have a lot of doctors and lawyers up in Green Bay? Like, what is
Packer fans are everywhere.
That is. They really are. It is I mean, yes, it's not only, I think, the most well-traveled fan base, but it's also the most, sparsed out fan base in terms of, just being everywhere throughout the country. Mm-hmm. I mean, I actually remember that too. I remember a few years ago when the Packers went in to Miami and beat the Dolphins. I remember how loud it was, like, every time the Packers scored. Now, that's not a great example because the Dolphins are the worst fan base in the history of sports. Every game is a home game for the other team when you're playing the Dolphins. So, but man, the Packers, and it was so loud for the Packers. That was absolutely
there was a point where Aaron Rodgers was like putting the hands in
I
the
think
air.
he was trying to quiet down the crowd in certain spots.
There was a point where he was like on the sidelines, like, get loud.
I mean, I'm sorry, that was a home game for the Packers.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, but listen, I will say that you got to give a little credit to the Rams, though. I know that they didn't play great yesterday, but good teams win games like that. Sometimes you got to grind wins out, and the Rams are showing that they can win games in blowouts and that they can grind out wins. That's a big win for them yesterday.
Yeah, Brandon actually, he posted that, because I had asked him if how he's feeling about the Packers' tough late loss, and he said it sucked. Such a rough play at the end of the game. The defense shows up, and Rodgers got robbed of the last drive, and that's true. The defense did show up, and they definitely did get robbed of seeing Rodgers' magic at the end.
If you're Ty Montgomery, and look, that was a tough spot too, because that ball was kicked not even halfway through the end zone, so I understand him taking it out. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, the Packers should have said, listen, as long as that ball is in the end zone, you got to take a knee. Yeah. No matter what, because we have to give him a chance from the 25-yard line.
Yep.
I mean, so McCarthy should have pulled him over on the side, or Joe Philbin up from his glorious booth should have been like, I'm sorry, I can't blame Joe Philbin. This is a special teams issue. McCarthy's got to be in his ear and say, look, Ty, unless that ball is kicked out, unless it's at the 1 yard line or beyond, you're taking a knee. I don't care if it's a yard deep, you're taking a knee. Yeah. Because we got to put the ball in Aaron's hand. Because I mean, I know the Packers had no timeouts, but they had like a minute and change.
It was. I think it was really. It was just unfortunate.
I think they would have won the game.
Yeah,
I think they would have won the game.
It just stinks for Packers because
it does because their defense played so well yesterday.
They played well. They got robbed of seeing Aaron Rodgers try and do it again in the fourth quarter, which he seems to always do. They got robbed of that. So there was a lot and Montgomery, who doesn't typically do that. Like, it's not like he is a fumble machine.
By the way,
so it stinks. It just overall just stinks. It's a kind of.
If you're the Packers, a very nice display yesterday out of that rookie cornerback Alexander. Mm-hmm. He looked good. He was really blanketing them. His timing was good. He's got good form. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a guy that they're getting excited about there. I don't know if Brandon's still on or listening, but there were some takeaways from if you're a Packers fan, there were some positive takeaways. You didn't want to see that game end like that.
Yeah, it stinks. It stinks that you got robbed at that.
You wanted
especially at a home game away.
To get that shot. Yeah, right. You wanted A-Rod in that home game in Los Angeles to get one more crack at it.
All right, so now let's quickly get into Monday Night Football. We do not have to talk about this long because there's no reason to talk about long.
No.
I am going.
Can we just go with scores?
Monday Night Football, the Patriots versus the Bills. The Bills are going to get annihilated. They might put up a little bit of points because the Patriots' defense is not very good, but they are not going to. This game is going to be outrageous. I have the Patriots.
Wait till you hear my score.
I have the Patriots winning 40-15.
Okay. Yeah. Yours is not as bad as mine. 50-12.
50-12. You haven't kicking. Wait, is that 2 touchdowns without extra points?
No, those are field goals.
All right. So if you have the Bills kicker, Hauschka.
Play Hauschka. Yeah, no, he's going to get you some points tonight. Yeah. 50-12.
Wow.
And I think the Patriots might score a couple of defensive touchdowns tonight and lead you to believe that their defense is a little better than they really are.
Wow. That's brutal.
50-12.
That's
and I feel confident about that pick.
Yeah, it's going to be if you have anybody on the Patriots offense going tonight.
Play him. I'll play him. Play him.
So the Patriots are they are negative 14 points. They are away. They're playing in Buffalo, and they are giving the Bills 14 points.
Yeah, that's you got to take the over on that.
Oh my Lord!
I mean, you have.
Well, they have the over under is 44.
I'm sorry. I mean, you got to take the Pats to cover in that.
Yeah.
14, you got to take the Pats.
And they have the over under 44.5.
Yeah, I would take the over. I would take the over and the Pats to cover. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that feels like Vegas is giving money away. I might actually place a bet tonight. I'd never gamble. Now, I see, you know what? That'll never work out because I'll bet on the Patriots and they'll put up like a dud performance.
And the Bills will have one of those against the Vikings where they beat them 40-3.
The Bills won't win. It'll be one of those ones where the Patriots win by 13 and the final score is like 30-12 or not a no. I'm sorry. It'd be like 27
28-18.
27-20. Yeah, 28. Yeah, there you go. Something where they're just it'd be a disaster.
They kick 6 field goals.
12-9 Patriots.
Hauschka's going deep tonight.
12-9 Patriots. Goskowski hits like a 57-yarder as time expires. That's the game. That'd be my luck.
All right, that's pretty much it for our show today. We hope you had a good time listening to the show. Again, it'll be available on iTunes and iHeartRadio, all those different places that you podcast.
Stitcher, Spreaker, Sprinkler, Splatter, whatever.
All those places. You can catch our show all those places, anywhere podcasts are played, audio only, and we'll be posting this to YouTube later on today. And you can find me on Twitter at EinhornerSinkle.
You can find me on Twitter at _Bry_man.
And you can find the show at Shane and Bryman on Twitter. You can find us everywhere we go live every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Mondays, 10 o'clock. Wednesdays at 11 o'clock. Saturdays, 10 o'clock. We go there every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. And that is at facebook.com/Shane and the Bryman. Ronnie Puro, this is right up your alley. Let's go Spurs. Yeah.
Go Spurs, go, baby.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how great that team is going to be this year, but a lot of things seem to be down, and up. Up is down, and down is up, and things are weird. The only thing that's consistent right now is that the Golden State Warriors are playing to their capabilities. The Bucks are playing to their capabilities. Everybody else kind of seems a little haywire. I mean, although the Raptors are playing really well. They are playing really well. They have both of your boys, Kawhi, on their team. And,
yeah.
They are...
I've been happy with DeRozan, though, so...
Yeah, I know.
DeRozan brought them back the other day against the Lakers.
But Kawhi is he still undefeated?
Well, it's awesome.
Last I saw, they were 6-0.
He's healthy. I mean, this was to be expected. I'm sorry. This is no surprise to me.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back again on Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
Halloween. We're going to be doing an early show. So I know we normally do 11. It's going to be at 9, I think. 9:15ish.
Yes.
We'll let you know as soon as we find out, and we will talk about that then. And Halloween. Yes, Halloween. Can't wait. 2 All-Stars, not championship bound, but they'll make the playoffs. Yes, they'll most likely. Everybody makes the playoffs. So, yes, they'll most likely make the playoffs. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back Wednesday. Halloween. Can't wait to see you. Peace out. Bye.
Stay classy, Planet Club.
You can find Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bryman on iTunes or www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com.